Hello there, I'm Norman Kincaid from Deepwater Baptist Church. I hope you're coping okay at the moment in these unusual circumstances. Maybe this week you've been able to do a little bit more. Maybe you've been able to get back to work or go out for a longer walk or maybe meet up with one of your friends in the park after the restrictions were slightly released. But whatever you've been able to do, I do hope you're keeping well. But life's still quite difficult, isn't it? And we may all have made some plans to do things over the last few weeks, which we just haven't been able to carry out. Maybe you'd planned to go on holiday, or maybe you were hoping to go and see something at the theatre, or like me, you had tickets for important football matches and things, but we've just not been able to do the things that we wanted to do. All our plans have been completely wrecked. For my own daughter, next week she was planning to get married. Her wedding was due for Bank Holiday Monday, and all the planning that went into that to do with dresses and flowers and photographs and guests and receptions and all those sorts of things that were planned, all have been frustrated, all feel as though they've gone to waste. Maybe later in the year she'll be able to carry out the wedding, but at the moment all those plans just seem to have come to nothing. And my son too, he was planning to get married in August, but he's decided that it's going to have to wait until at least next year. And it's just frustrating and annoying. I don't know how you feel when things that you've planned, things that you've hoped for, things that you've really been looking forward to and wanted to happen, just don't happen the way that we expected. How do you feel? Maybe we feel angry. Maybe we feel sad and disappointed, frustrated. But whatever, it's just not easy to cope with, is it, when our plans don't work out? I want to share with you the first part of a story from the Bible about a couple of people whose plans didn't work out. I'm going to read from Luke chapter 24, beginning at verse 13. Now, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, which was about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they were talking to each other about everything that had happened. And as they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. And he asked them, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" They just stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you only a visitor to Jerusalem? Don't you know the things that have happened here in these days?" "What things?" he asked. "About Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we'd hoped he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what's more, it's the 3rd day since all this took place. And then some of our women have amazed us. They went to his tomb early this morning, but they didn't find his body. They came and told us they'd seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but him they didn't see." So, we meet Cleopas and his friend walking along, not doing anything special, not doing anything holy, just walking and talking. But we're told that they were downcast. They were feeling miserable. Why? What had upset them? Well, it was because their plans, their hopes about their friend Jesus had been completely wrecked. He'd been executed by the authorities, and they'd expected that he was the one who was going to be the answer to all their problems. They thought he was going to redeem Israel. He was going to free them from Roman oppression. He was going to bring them hope and freedom. But not now. It's not going to happen now, they said. They've killed him. And now, to make matters worse, some of our friends spreading these rumours that he's alive. They've been to the tomb, talking about angels, and he's alive. And he wasn't there when they went to look at him. Why do they do this to us? Why do they build up our hopes and then knock us down again? It's so annoying. And now, in addition to all that, some idiots come along, stood next to us, and asked us what we're upset about. You can just hear them saying, "Where are you from? Are you from some other planet? Don't you know what's been going on these last few days?" I just sense Cleopas's anger, frustration, disappointment. They didn't recognise that it was Jesus himself who'd come to walk with them. They were so tied up in their own disappointment, their own frustration, their own sorrow, that they couldn't see who he was. How have you been feeling in this crisis? Have you felt fed up? Have you felt distant from God? Have you been asking those questions, where's God when you need him? But have you thought that he might well be right next to you, but you don't realise it? Let's read the rest of the story and see what happened. He said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Didn't the Christ have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus acted as if he was going on further. But they urged him strongly, "Please stay with us, for it's nearly evening. The day's almost over." So he went in to stay with them. And when he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. And then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. And they asked each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" And they got up at once and returned to Jerusalem. And they found the other 11 and those with them assembled together. So, Jesus, they still didn't recognise him, started to explain everything to them. And they listened while they finished their walk and finished the journey. But then when Jesus was going to leave and move on at the end of the road, they invited him to stay with them for a meal. And he accepted. And during the meal, the way he broke the bread, the way he blessed it, they remembered they'd seen him do that before. And they were blessed and excited and uplifted, and they realised that it was true. He is alive. And that is also the good news for us today. Jesus himself, the same Jesus that we read about in that story, that was on the road going with them to Emmaus, that same Jesus is still alive today. But he doesn't want to force himself on us like he didn't with Cleopas and his friend. He wants to walk with us. He wants to share time with us, but he never will force himself upon us. You'll read that he waited until he was invited to stay with those two guys overnight and to share a meal with them. He wants us to invite him as well to spend time with us. He wants to be with us. He wants to talk to us. He wants to explain his love for us. But he wants us to invite him into our situation. Yep, into our ordinary, mundane, routine lives. Sometimes those frustrating lives. Sometimes those happy lives. The life in lockdown. Or the life when you're out for a walk or taking your exercise. The life when you're going about your normal business. When you're going to work. When you're spending time with friends. Jesus wants us to invite him to be with him in those situations too. And let me assure you that if you invite Jesus to be with you in the current situation today, you will be blessed. Our plans might have been frustrated. Our plans are often different to God's plans for us. And I want you to be assured that his plans for you today are to do you good, are to show you love, and to build you up, and to make you into the person that he created you to be. God's plans will not be frustrated, not by a virus, not by a lockdown, not by anything. God's plans for you are much greater than that. Please do invite him to be with you today. God bless you all. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.